Welcome, everyone. It's the Mike Tech Show, show number 896. Tonight's show is about the email migration from hell, and I am going to deep dive on some email topics. We're going to talk about SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. Don't worry, even if you don't know about this, you're going to learn about it. And I got great links that's going to be followed up in the show notes to take care of everything. And then I got a stack of email that I'm going to do my best to get to. So first, a couple things. If you're watching this on video, I had my Phillies hat on because it was the one positive thing to hang on to for the last 2 weeks, is knowing that pitchers and catchers are reporting soon down here in a few days. And I can't wait till my first spring training game of this year, which will be February 25th. It just keeps creeping up a little earlier and earlier. So I'll be in Phillies heaven starting on February 25th. So here's where I got to begin. And I'm going to come back to this topic. Google and Yahoo have come out and decided that they are going to try to stop spam. They're going to do their best by forcing everybody to have the DNS records of SPF, which everybody has, and that's easy. I don't care who your email provider is, you can do an SPF record. But DKIM and DMARC, so DKIM and DMARC, they are requiring. Now, 2 weeks ago, because I didn't do a show last week, I opened a support ticket because I have a lot of clients on SureWeb hosted exchange. So I send SureWeb a ticket saying, how can I implement DKIM and DMARC for my clients? And I swear that the tech support said, when he wrote me back, we do not support DKIM and DMARC, and we never will. Think about that. They are a major email provider, and they are not going to support that. I was stunned. I love the honesty, but I was stunned. So you have to go to Microsoft, or something I don't like is Google Workplace. To me, if you're already Exchange hosted, that's a step backwards because you want to stay Exchange. The answer is Microsoft. At the end, there's going to be 2 email providers in the world, and that's it. It's going to be Google and Microsoft and no one else, because of a lot of these requirements and the requirements that are coming. So if you have a client that needs Exchange, you absolutely take them directly to Microsoft. You do not go to SureWeb for hosted Exchange. Now, SureWeb resells Microsoft, and I have a lot of clients. I do have clients that have that. And that's okay, because it's not their hosted Exchange. And here's where I went wrong for this migration. And my client, and it's my largest client, they wanted to get out of the grips of SureWeb. And they needed to implement DKIM and DMARC. And oh, by the way, waiting to hear what I'm doing now. And I got so much to cover here. So I'm going to stay focused. We're going to talk about the migration this past weekend. And I still have open items that I still got to take care of. That has been brutal. And I made some mistakes. So one of the problems, if you're ever doing a manual export and import, which is what we were doing, I created a brand new Microsoft account, got my client's credit card set up, and set up the 40 users. So we got 40 users that we got to migrate, and we decided that they had all kinds of hodgepodge of different versions of Office. So we're going to do Office 365 standard for all the users that need that. And then for the shared mailboxes and those generic mailboxes like AP at or AR or billing at, we're going to just create the inexpensive Exchange Online account. It's like $4 an account, only $4 per month. So we have like 10 of them and figure 31 actual users that had to be migrated. So they make the announcement they're going to leave the systems on so we can start remotely. And this was last Friday, but there was a lot of prep work I was doing on Thursday. That's why there could be no show last week. And we started, my son and I, remoting in. I put a process together that we would export everything. Here's what I didn't count on. 2 users were way beyond the legal size of an OST file. I'm shocked that there wasn't any problems prior to this. But not only did the 2 users have such big OSTs, they had no room on their local hard drive for us to do an export. And because they were so big, one was 68 gig and another one was 55 gig. Now remember, there's a 50 gig limit for Exchange email. How did that even happen? I that's one thing. But because what I would have done would have cloned that hard drive before the migration and made it bigger. And there was no turning back because Friday afternoon, I changed the DNS. I changed the MX records. So now we're in. There's no way to go back on this. So we discover this and I start exporting them to the server. So now it's going over the network, killing the network. And we start going on. We export everything to a PST. And because a lot of people had normal size, mailboxes. So we export everything. And then we uninstall. The most common was Office 2010. We got rid of that and put Office 365 standard, which was set for each user, and then began the import. And that's fine. And that went pretty well. Matter of fact, it was awesome. I thought we had covered a lot of ground Friday night. Now, Saturday, my son was on site while I was remote. And we finished everything up. Let's go to Monday morning. What did I not do? Well, I forgot about rules. Email rules that different, I did not export any of them. Didn't have any of them. Now, we created a separate profile, but for some reason, SureWeb won't let us get back into the other profile. So that's a different issue. And I've actually opened a ticket for that. Autocomplete. I've only did the autocomplete for users that complained because that's something we didn't do for every single user. And that's going to be the first link for tonight, the NK2 edit autocomplete. So what is autocomplete? Real quick. Autocomplete is when someone starts typing someone's name or email and it pops up. That's not coming from contacts. That's coming from a previous email that they typed the email address. And Microsoft calls that autocomplete. The file used to be NK2. Now it's AutoStream. You can still use the utility. And the link that I have, download the 32 and the 64-bit. Just run the main file after you unzip it, and it'll launch the proper version. And what you do is you go File, Open, NK2, but you got to go down and say Open Everything. And it'll bring you right to that directory that's got all of the different autocomplete files. Take the biggest one. Open it. Now, by the way, their Outlook is open right now. And here's another thing you got to send a message. You got to send a test message from the user, because now their autocomplete is built. So now you take it and you highlight all of them. So you just go to the top, then go to the bottom, shift, shift control, get all of them highlighted, and now select export to information store. And that'll shove it into the information store and up to Microsoft. You give it a minute or two so it can sync. You close the NK2 utility. Then you close Outlook. You reopen Outlook, and the autocomplete's there. It's a simple process, and I wanted to cover that here, that you can always come back to and re-listen to that, because I don't know if you're going to read that anywhere. That's just from personal experience. So now, the one user that we started I figured I would attach the PST, and we took his OST file, these two big users, and I had my son bring an external drive, and on Saturday, I copied them to the external drive, then deleted the OST. So now we can't launch that profile, only the new one. And then the exported PST, I brought it back over and just attached it as a data file, because we can't import it. It would just ruin his entire mail. Well, with the two users, I don't know what happened, but we lost the contacts. Somehow those contacts didn't export. They did for everybody else, but not for this user. And then there's no explanation for that at all. We got them back. That is a completely different story for another day. And it was one of the people who does support with us that's on site. He figured it out, and it was major work in connecting to the SureWeb Exchange without a proper auto discover in the DNS. And let me tell you, that is not for the meek and mild. It's an ugly job to do. He did it. He got enough downloaded to where all the contacts were there, and boom, the guy's 1,200 contacts are there. And aside to the story, the person who got those contacts, it was for his dad who works there also, and it was him who needed the contacts. Just had to throw that in there. So now the other person that had the big mailbox, his January mail's gone. So over this weekend, I got to download everything, export January's mail, and then go back and merge it in to his. I have another user, and of course it's the CFO who needs his rules. And this weekend, I have to launch the old profile, export all the rules, and get them all set up back into the new profile. But we're having another problem. And since my company is hosted at SureWeb, and I have everybody still open like Outlook Web Access for the SureWeb account, because we're still seeing mail, even though the MX records are correct and have been correct for almost a week now. If you are a SureWeb client and you send an email to someone in this company, it'll get delivered to SureWeb. SureWeb, they do something in the back end that if it's SureWeb to SureWeb server, it doesn't go outside and look at an MX record. This is crazy. I am uncovering so many things that, please never, ever, ever, ever use SureWeb for hosted exchange. Don't ever do it, because they're going to get I don't know, why are they selling plans right now? They should just sell the Microsoft plans. I don't even understand why they're selling that, because as of today, This is where Gmail, Google and Yahoo are putting these restrictions that I'm going to talk about. So let me start by going over a couple things here. And I am going to share my screen. And this is the NK2 edit. Now, I have clients that use HubSpot, they use MailChimp, and all kinds of other legitimate mass mailing services. These are the guys that are going to get hit really bad. And here's something from the HubSpot. Google and Yahoo have hired a digital bouncer. And they're saying, okay, but they're here to help us. Email, it's all about email authentication. Authentication is a methodology that empowers senders to legitimize their sending further. There are three primary methodologies that Gmail and Yahoo will now require. SPF, and let me tell you, I've had an SPF record for every one of my clients. DKIM and DMARC. So I put together, let me minimize this a little bit and open up this is a sample email too. Okay. I used a little bit of ChatGPT and some other things to put together an email that this was sent out from actually a new client. The person that manages the marketing material for one of my other clients has 40 other clients. He's hired me to help him identify who needs the DKIM and the DMARCs or the SPF. So he's giving me the domains for all the clients. We picked the two biggest and we got them settled yesterday. So this is my life now. I'm living in this. So I hope this email finds you well. I wanted to briefly touch base on the necessity of implementing SPF, DKIM, and DMARC protocols for email security. SPF is Sender Policy Framework. Helps prevent email spoofing by verifying the sender's IP address. It allows domain owners to verify which IP addresses are allowed to send emails on behalf of their domain. This prevents spammers from impersonating your domain. I get that, and I understand that. And you always have the included on some SPF records. Like if they send email from a couple different places, like if someone uses a marketing tool, then you've had to edit that SPF record. This is the tough one, DKIM. DKIM adds a digital signature to email headers, which verifies that the email content hasn't been altered in transit and confirms the sender's domain authenticity. It enhances email integrity and helps recipients verify the sender's identity. So let's stop right there. Your email provider has to support that. They must give you what the two CNAME records that have to be added to DNS. So in Microsoft, you can, in the admin portal, you can search for the DKIM, you pick the domain, and then it will, once you click to invoke it, it'll say, well, it can't do it now because it's checking and those records aren't there, and it gives you the two DNS records that you got to make. You go to where the host of the DNS is, which that's a lot of work too. You got to find out, like, what if somebody took the website, they have the domain at GoDaddy, but the name servers are now some other place, which is what we've seen for some of his clients. And that makes it tougher because now we got to edit those records. Okay. So that's the DKIM. DMARC is domain-based message authentication reporting and conformance. It builds upon the SPF and the DKIM to provide a policy framework for email authentication. It allows domain owners to instruct receiving email servers on how to handle emails that fail SPF and DKIM checks. So you could actually tell it to quarantine or reject, and then you have to have an email account that you can also put in there. It provides a reporting mechanism to help domain owners monitor and analyze email traffic. So the bottom line, we have to implement this for every one of your clients that you are helping with doing email. Now, I am going to have the Wikipedia for SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. So this way, I'm also going to have the link for the Google and Yahoo have hired a digital bouncer from HubSpot. I'm going to have that link in the show notes. And then now what I want to go over is the domain, the DMARC and DKIM, and how you implement that with Microsoft 365. And then I'm going to give you something else that was just, something I ran into where, what do you do when you're all Microsoft and you got to do a SMTP relay, because that's what you need to do. And waiting to hear that. So how to deal with that this week. Let's sender policy framework. This is the WikiWand. This is the DKIM, DMARC. Okay, how do you validate? This is from Microsoft 365. How do you use DKIM to validate your outbound email? So what you have to do is once, and by the way, this is really cool. They have a little chart here with the flow of what is happening to the message. I was going to go over that. I'm like, I'm not going to go there. Okay, so you got to, from the Microsoft Defender portal, you click on the domain, and then the status is no DKIMs have been saved to this domain. So you create the DKIM keys. They'll give them to you. Then you got to add the CNAME records. Then you got to come back. See, after you get the CNAMEs, then you got to come back and you got to enable it. So it's a multi-step process just to get DKIM working. And this is how to do it in Microsoft, because right now, to me, there is no other email provider in the world that I am going to use other than Microsoft for everyone. And that's it. I mean, it's just going to keep life simple. So this gives you detail on how you can do these things from a PowerShell, and I'm not going to go into the programming of that. All right. How do SPF and DMARC work together? This talks about the DMARC text record. So let's take a look at this. This P equals none. This is, what do you do? Each of these letters, there's a definition. And this is what a typical DMARC record looks like. But you have a mail to, which if there's any kind of a rejection or something happening, then you will get an email will be generated to what you set up. Now, here's the problem. Who's going to monitor this and who's going to have the email set up? It's going to be me, because there's some of my clients can't do this. So we got to come up with a name for the, we got to come up with a name for an email that these reports can be set up, and I still haven't done that. So I have right now, I'm starting out with a very minimal, the most basic DMARC that you could come up with. It is very short, what I'm using right now, until I can, come up with making it better. All right. So here's Marius. They don't have a choice and implement it. They can't leave Gmail out for their users. Yes. All right. Let's go to MX Toolbox. This is where you look up everything. You can put a domain and you can see their records. So let's go. I've never looked at Microsoft.com. Let's look at that. So Microsoft.com, there's their MX record. Okay. The DMARC record is published. Of course, it better be green, and it better be green for their DNS. And you can now take a look at you can do an SPF record lookup, or let's do a DKIM lookup. So here's the DKIM option 1 and option 2. They call them selector 1 and selector 2. Then for DKIM, let's do a DMARC lookup. So now this is where you go to, that was DMARC. Let's go. There we go. DMARC lookup. It keeps doing DKIM. I don't know why it's not doing DMARC, but anyway, that's just something that you can do. So let's keep going. You know what? Let's get to some email. I know you're going to have questions, and I will do my best to answer questions involving email, and I will do what I can. Let me get back to my notes. All right, 2 things. If you are sending a mail relay, meaning scan to email from a copier, and you use a Microsoft 365 email account. Now, I have one called for one of our clients called No Reply, and it's just a mailbox. Well, that No Reply, you have to go in, and you have to go into the admin exchange settings for that user in the Microsoft admin panel, and you have to authorize that it can do an SMTP relay. Then you have to enable, and I have instructions, you have to enable legacy SMTP. And once you do that for the organization, for that domain, now you can use the SMTP called smtp-legacy.office365.com. Anyone that has to implement an SMTP relay, I just saved you hours and hours of work. All right. We got to get to some email. I can go on and on and on. It was stressful. I'm getting over everything. We're making we're making progress. We just have a couple of these last little things that have to be done and taken care of. But my biggest worry is mail messages from a SureWeb account still, and not all the time, going to the old SureWeb. Is there something that they can turn off at the back end to allow no more mail to be delivered? And I opened up a ticket with SureWeb, and I'm praying that they will be able to do that, because I have no other way. Something else I learned. Anybody that's currently a SureWeb client, do not, if they're hosted Exchange, use SureWeb's migration services to migrate them to Microsoft, which you purchase through SureWeb. So the bill will still go to SureWeb, but all the emails hosted at Microsoft. Now, I have went through that migration, and it was a piece of cake. They take care of all the data being transferred, all the things being transferred. We had no email issues whatsoever, but when we did it manually, I would never do that again. So if you are on Hosted Exchange, I recommend you buy the Microsoft accounts from Exchange, set it up. It's the same Microsoft admin portal. They don't, and then contact support that you want to do a migration, and then set up all the accounts, and then, they'll guide you on when you change the DNS, and you'll get a schedule on what's going to happen. And I did this for a real estate agent a couple weeks ago with no problem. And that was all because this is all happening because of the DKIM and the DMARC. And I'm going to be going through many, many, many more. Here's something. One of my financial advisors just the other day, they were getting rejected emails from the Gmail. Just a single user, just a single email. And guess what? The bounce back message, it referenced the DKIM and DMARC it wasn't there. I'm like, now they're hosted by Microsoft, but I didn't have control of their DNS. And I'm so glad their old IT company was very friendly and very helpful. I sent them all the records, and they added them right away. They no longer have any problems. So what I have to double back is anybody currently with Microsoft right now that's under my purview, I need to get those records done on their DNS. So that's another list of things to do. Oh my. So I have, let's do first by our esteemed moderator, Taz, Mike Cooley. He has sent me a link for Chrome extensions. And thank you, Taz. I am going to put that in the show notes. So thank you. This is from Carlos. Mike, I hope you and your family are well. Thank you for all that you do. I was wondering if you already heard of Adobe's discontinuance of cloud service sync files on February 1st, 2024. Below, I put the link for your convenience. Thought it might be good to mention on the show. Really? Thank you for sending it, but, I've had enough of companies changing stuff. This article has near the bottom of the page links for downloading your info as a zip file, and also for enterprise, they have a different timeline. I hope I'm not too late in sending this. He sent this on the 21st, and it is February 1st. So, Carlos, thank you. I'm going to have that in the show notes. Real quick, a YouTube comment that I love from the last show that I did. He says, UPS for uninterruptible power supplies, Mike, you singing my song. I've been a clean power nut for about 20 years, and like you, CyberPower is my brand of choice. I've got 3 CyberPower 1500 units to keep clean power running to my electronics. Powers my UB cable modem, Netgear router, and my cordless landline base. It keeps my Sony Bravia, Roku, and Motorola DVR running. Provides good power to my Dell monitor and Optiplex. This is great. And he goes on, one Sunday afternoon, sunny, no wind, rain, my power went out. I was watching an NFL game at the time and noticed the screen dimmed slightly, but kept the game playing on. The rest of the house was without power, except my UPS powered. Another layer of protection you might look into is the Delta Surge Capacitor and Delta Lightning Arrestor. They are both installed at the breaker box. By the way, I always configure any desktop I set up or work on to never sleep or hibernate, because remember I talked about that too. So this is from Blaine, who put that on YouTube. for comments to the show. This is from Will. I hope this email finds you well. I appreciate the quality content you continue to put out year after year. Keep up the good work. I have been working with clients that have been affected with the Windows 10 update. This is Knowledge Base 503-4441 issue. I have successfully resized the WinRE partition multiple times in DOS to fix the root cause for update failing, and then successfully installing the update. Unfortunately, this was not the case with one of my business clients. I followed the same process. However, the newly created WinRE partition will not attach itself to the operating system. I am attaching the screenshot I took, which shows it doesn't see the partition location, which means it can't be enabled. I'm not a DOS guru. Can you or your listeners provide a solution to this? Otherwise, my client will have this update failing until I upgrade him to Windows 11 in the near future. Best regards, and this is Will. Will, I do not have an answer. So I'm putting this out there to everybody. Knowledge Base 503-4441. And this issue, any help for Will? I have not ran into this issue, so I am not familiar with it. There's enough issues. Will, we will try to get you an answer. The rest of the email are a lot of emails from Bill Dwyer, and he sent me some good Windows 11 shortcuts. Thank you for that, Bill. I will put them in the show notes. Let me go to some more email. Okay. A couple emails he sent me about 2016 sticking on trying to connect to the server. And what you need to do is I want to know who is the email provider, because he updated to the newer version of Outlook and he's still having trouble with it, with this one client where he's trying to connect. I said, hey, run outlook.exe/safe. No joy in that. Run Outlook exe as administrator. No joy. I said, I wanted to know how you're connecting. I don't know if he's trying to connect via Exchange, IMAP, or POP. So, Bill, you need to know, what are you connecting? And then whoever the email host is, you got to make sure that you have the right port and the proper servers. Then they probably have webmail. Double check, because you could be driving yourself crazy thinking that you have the password and it's not correct. So this happens to me with a lot of users, where first we go to the web and I test their email address with the password that they think they know and make sure that verifies and that they can get in. Now you got the credentials. Now, depending on who that host is, you need to set up Outlook with the proper settings. You need to know the port that they use for SMTP. And if it's Exchange and it's not setting up, then Auto Discover is not configured in their DNS properly. Boy, I've been through this. So that is your answer, Bill. Hopefully that will help. Let's see. He writes about a TLS issue. We can talk about that another time. Woot is owned by Amazon. And so it is legit. And one of the things he has here, and I'm going to open it up, is they sell, it's all sold out though, but they sell, I don't even know if I'll put this link in because everything's sold out. They sell from Woot inexpensive products for Microsoft. So you might want to keep an eye on that, because I see that the event is sold out because every single product says sold out. So they must have been great prices where you could buy, Windows 10 and Windows 11 and different versions of Microsoft Office. I do not agree with the inexpensive Microsoft Offices where you get that enterprise sort of OEM and you get that cheap key. Well, guess what? There are issues. And one of the things I've ran into is when you try to update them to the legitimate Microsoft Office, there are issues. And especially Excel. Excel for Office 2019 and Office 2021, the OEMs, guess what? There's functionality changes. If someone makes comments on a cell from an Office 365, you can't read it. Yes, and I've been down this road with a client. And because of that, I no longer support those cheap keys. Can't do it. Now, I might do it for the operating system, but I'm not doing it for Office anymore. Somebody wants Office, we go Microsoft, whether it's personal or business, and we do Office 365. That's it. You got to standardize and put your foot down or you're going to drive yourself crazy. And we've been driving ourselves crazy, trying to accommodate everybody. And you know what? You got to accommodate your peace of mind. I think that's more important than anything else. And these last couple of weeks, I've been going crazy. I've been crazy busy because now I'm also managing the regular support calls that come in and things that need to be done along with taking on all this extra work. Yes. Am I making money? Yes. Is everything billable? Well, not really. I mean, I would say I probably billed for half of my time that I put into this email migration. So because it just wasn't, I can't lose the client, and there was no way. Let's just say we put in, my son and I, 50 extra hours. So that's what we billed for. So I would say there was probably another 20 hours or so that I've put into this that I'm not billing. Just because, you got to look at the invoice and be reasonable also. Let me know your thoughts on all of this. Did this help? Has this opened up opportunities for you? That's another way to look at this. Hey, this wasn't caused by us. This was generated by Google and Yahoo. And we're now adapting. It's like Microsoft making a big change. Okay, they're going to get rid of Windows 10. So now we got to implement Windows 11 to everybody. So take a look at this. If hopefully I shed some light into things that this might save you some time and some effort. Maybe give you some solutions and some things to do, and also some things to look at, which are important. Your clients, go in, take a look. Any of your clients' email, run the DNS, run the DKIM check, run the DMARC check. Make sure they have the proper DNS. And then start to make a spreadsheet maybe for all your clients, and then put who's the email host, who owns the domain name. Is it GoDaddy? Is it Network Solutions? Is it register.com? Take a look. And then what are the name servers? So take a look. Use viewdns.info. I love that. I just wish they had a DMARC and DKIM check. It's the only thing missing. They have everything else, but they don't have that. And take a look at the DNS records. When you look at the DNS and you see the NS, that's the name servers. That's where you would make the change. So I have clients. Well, no. Clients of my new client. As I've been doing the research and the analysis of all the domain names, there's GoDaddy for where they bought the domain. Love that because it makes it easy to do the edit. Well, not so good. Now I see Cloudflare and all these other places because web, and I've said this so many times, web designers take the easy route and just grab the name servers from the DNS rather than taking the time to make sure the proper entries are made. I protect the DNS for all of my clients. And this just happened literally last week, where the one client has a domain where for his wife, and they got a project going, and the web designer wanted access to the DNS. Well, guess what? The husband, who is the CEO of the company, has multiple companies, and his DNS on GoDaddy, his GoDaddy account has many, many domains, including his wife's domain for one. There's no way I'm going to give up the password, and he agreed, the password and the login where they could screw up anything from some of these other domains. So I worked with the web person, and she has given me the records to put in, which was perfect. I said, I'll take care of it. I'll make sure I do it right away. You don't have to worry. But she understood I couldn't just hand that over. And that's what you got to be careful for that. And, make sure that you're aware of this. All right. A little longer for tonight. So remember, please keep the donations coming. You can click on that on the main page. I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. YouTube.com/MichaelSmithMTS. Smash the subscribe button, and that would really appreciate it. Remember, you can send me any email, MikeTechShow@gmail.com. That's it. Everybody have a great week. Hope to see you next week. Same time, same channel. Bye-bye.